Speak the speech, I pray you, as I pronounce it to you, trippingly on the tongue. But if you mouth it as many of our players do, I would have lief the town criers spoke my lines. Nor do not saw the air too much with your hand, thus, but use all gently, for in that torrent, tempest, and dare I say, whirlwind of your passion, you must acquire and beget a temperance which might give it smoothness. Oh, it offends me to the soul to hear a robustious, pearl-wig-pated fellow tear a passion to tatters, to very rags, to split the ears of the groundlings, who, for the most part, are capable of nothing but inexplicable dumb shows and noise. I would have such a fellow whipped for overdoing termagant. It out-Herods Herod. I pray you, avoid it. Be not too tame, neither, but, let your own discretion be your tutor. Suit the action to the word to the action, with this special observance that you overstep not the modesty of nature. For anything so overdone is for the purpose of playing whose end, both at the first and now, was and is as to mirror up to nature, to show virtue her own figure, to scorn her image, in the very age and body of time his own form and pressure. Now this overdone, or come tardy off, though it make the unskilful laugh, cannot but help make the judicious grieve, the censure of which must, in your allowance, be to overweigh a whole theatre of others. For there be players that I have seen play, or heard others praise highly, and that, not to speak it profanely, having neither the accent of Christians, nor the gait of Christian, pagan, nor man, that I had thought some of nature's journeymen had made men, and not made them very well. He imitated humanity so abominably. Reform it altogether, and let those that play your clowns speak no more than a set down for them. For there be of them that will themselves laugh, and to set on some quantity of barren spectators to laugh too, though at that point some necessary question of the play is to be then considered. That's villainous, and it shows pitiful ambition in the fool that uses it. Go, make you ready.
We are getting along very well now, Adelle and I, and getting better and better acquainted. He does not try to avoid me anymore, which is a good sign, and shows that he likes to have me with him. That pleases me, and I study to be useful to him in every way I can, as so to increase his regard. During the last day or two, I have taken all the work of naming things off his hands, and this has been a great relief to him, for he has no gift in that line, and is evidently very grateful. He can't think of a rational name to save him, but I do not let him see that I am aware of his defect. Whenever a new creature comes along, I name it before he has time to expose himself by an awkward silence. In this way, I have saved him many embarrassments. I have no defect like this. The minute I set eyes on a creature, I know what it is. I don't have to reflect a moment. The right name comes out instantly, just as if it were an inspiration, as no doubt it is, for I am sure it wasn't in me half a minute before. I seem to know just by the shape of the creature and the way it acts what animal it is. When the dodo came along, he thought it was a wildcat. I saw it in his eye, but I saved him, and I was careful not to do it in a way that could hurt his pride. I just spoke up, in a quite natural way, pleasing surprise, and said, "Well, I do declare, if that isn't the dodo." I explained, without seeming to be explaining, how I knew it for a dodo, and although I thought maybe he was a little piqued that I knew the creature when he didn't, it was quite evident that he admired me. That was agreeable, and I thought of it more than once with gratification before I slept. How little things can make us happy when we feel we have earned it.
What can we do? We must live out our lives. Yes, we shall live, Uncle Vanya. We shall live through the endless procession of days ahead of us, and through the long evenings. We shall bear patiently the burdens that fate imposes on us. We shall work without rest for others, both now and when we're old. And when our final hour comes, we shall need it humbly. And there beyond the grave, we shall say that we have known great suffering and tears, that our life was bitter. Ah, then, dear, dear Uncle Vanya, we shall enter on a bright and beautiful life. We shall rejoice and look back upon our grief here. A tender smile, and we shall rest. I have faith, uncle. Fervent, passionate faith. We shall rest. We shall rest. We shall hear the angels. We shall see heaven shining like a jewel. We shall see evil and all of our pain here disappear in the great pity that shall enfold the world. Our life will be as gentle as a sweet caress. I have faith. I have faith. My poor, poor Uncle Vanya. You are crying. You've never known what it is to be happy. But wait, Uncle Vanya, wait. We shall rest. We shall rest. We shall rest.
Madame, I have many thanks and returns to you, and such advice lays me under great obligation. Far from taking it unkindly, I am only too anxious, at once, to prove my gratitude by giving you on my part a certain piece of advice, which, wonderful to say, closely concerns your honor. And as I see you prove yourself my friend by acquainting me with the reports that people spread of me, I wish in my part to follow so pleasing an example by acquainting you with what is said of you. In a certain house where I was visiting the other day, I met with the people of the most striking merit, and they, upon speaking of the duties of a person who leads a virtuous life, turned the conversation, madame, upon you. There, your prudishness and the vehemence of your zeal were by no means quoted as a good example. That affectation of a grave demeanor, your everlasting speeches on discretion and honor, your simpering, and your outcries the shadow of any impropriety which an innocent, though ambiguous word may present. The high esteem in which you hold yourself, and the looks of pity which you cast upon others. Your frequent lectures and your sharp censures on all things which are harmless and pure. All this, madame, if I may speak the plain truth, were blamed by the common accord. What signify, said they, that modest mien and that grave demeanor, which are belied by all the rest? She is most exact to all her prayers, but she beats her servants and pays them no wages. She makes the greatest display of fervor in all places of worship, but she paints and wishes to appear beautiful. She has all nudities covered in her pictures, but she delights in her reality. For my part, I undertook your defense against everyone, and assured them it was all calumny, but the general opinion went against me, and the conclusion was that you ought to be less solicitous about other people's actions, and take more pains about your own. That we ought to examine ourselves a great deal before thinking of condemning others, and that we should add the weight of an exemplary life to the corrections we pretend to make in our neighbors, and that, after all, it would be better still to leave that care to those who are ordained by heaven for it. Madame, I believe that you are also too sensible not to take in good part this kindly meant advice, and not to attribute it to the earnestness of an affection which makes me anxious for your welfare.
What's he that wishes so, my cousin Westmoreland? No, my fair cousin. If we are marked to die, then we are enough to do our country loss. But if to live, the fewer the men, the greater the share of honor. God's will, I pray thee, wish not a man from England. By Jove, I am not covetous for gold, nor care I who doth feed upon my cost. It yearns me not if men my garments wear. Such outward things dwell not in my desires. But if it be a sin to covet honor, well, then I am the most offending soul alive. I pray thee, wish not a man from England. God's peace, I would not lose so great an honor as when men more methinks would share from me. For the best hope I have, oh, do not wish a man from England, rather proclaim at Westmoreland through my host that he which have no stomach to this fight, let him depart. His passport shall be made, and crowns for convoy put into his purse. We would not die in that man's company who fears his fellowship to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispian. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbors and say, tomorrow is St. Crispin's Day. Then he'll strip his sleeve and he'll show his scars and say, these wounds I had on St. Crispin's Day. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgot, but he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. Then shall our names, familiar in the mouth as household words, Harry the King, Bedford, and Exeter, Warwick, and Talbot, Salisbury, and Gloucester, be in their flowing cups freshly remembered. This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispian shall ne'er go by from this day until the ending of the world. But we in it shall be remembered. We few. We happy few. We band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Be he ne'er so vile this day, shall gentle his condition. And gentlemen at home in England now abed shall think themselves accursed that they were not here, and they'll hold their manhoods cheap while all that speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's Day.
Vera, the Nihilist, in Moscow. Oh God, were it not better to die at once the dog's death they plot for me than to live as I live now. Never to sleep. Or if I do to dream such horrid dreams that hell itself were peace when matched with them. To trust none but those I have bought, to buy none worth trusting. To see a dagger in every hand, poison in every dish, a traitor in every smile. To lie awake at night, listening from hour to hour for the stealthy creeping of the murderer, for the laying of the damned mine. You are all spies. You are all spies. You, worst of all. You, my own son. Which of you is it who hides these bloody proclamations under my pillow, or at the table where I sit? Which of ye all is the Judas who betrays me? Oh God. Oh God. Methinks there was a time once, no war with England, when nothing could make me afraid. I have ridden into the crimson heart of war, and borne back an eagle which those wild islanders had taken from us. Men said I was brave then. My father gave me the Iron Cross of Valor. Oh, can he see me now, this coward's livery ever in my cheek? I never knew love when I was a boy. I was ruled by terror myself. How else should I rule now? And I will have my revenge. I will have my revenge. For every hour I have lain awake at night, waiting for the noose or the dagger, they shall pass years in Siberia, centuries in the mines. I shall have revenge on the people. The people. A tiger I have let loose upon myself, but I will fight with it to the death. I am done with half measures. I shall crush these Nihilists at a blow. There shall not be a man of them, no, nor a woman either, left alive in Russia. Am I emperor for nothing, that a woman should hold me at bay? Vera Saburov shall be within my power, I swear it, before a week is ended, though I burn my whole city to find her. She shall be flogged by the knout, stifled in the fortress, strangled in the square. For 2 years, Her hands have been clutching at my throat. For 2 years, she has made my life a hell! But I will have my revenge.
Good heavens! If everyone was like you, a love story would soon be over. Matrimony ought never to happen till after other adventures. A lover, to be agreeable, must understand how to utter fine sentiments, to breathe soft, tender, and passionate vows. His courtship must be according to the rules. In the first place, he should behold the fair one with whom he becomes enamored with, either at a place of worship, or when out walking, or at some public ceremony. Or he should be introduced to her by a relative or friend, as if by chance. And when he leaves her, he should appear in a pensive and melancholy mood. For some time he should conceal his passion from the object of his love, but pay her several visits, in every one of which he should introduce some gallant subject to exercise the wits of all the company. When the day comes to make his declarations, which generally should be contrived in some shady garden walk while the company is at a distance, it should be quickly followed by anger, which is shown by our blushing, and which banishes the lover from our presence. He finds afterwards means to pacify us, to accustom us gradually to hear him depict his passion, and to draw from us that confession which causes us so much pain. After that come the adventures, the rivals who thwart mutual inclination, the persecutions of fathers, the jealousies arising without any foundation, complaints, despair running away with, and its consequences. Thus, things are carried on in fashionable life, and veritable gallantry cannot dispense with these forms. But to come out point blank with a proposal of marriage, to make no love but with a marriage contract, and to begin a novel at the wrong end. Once more, nothing could be more tradesmanlike, and the mere thought of it makes me sick at heart.
How happy some or other some can be! Through Athens I am thought as fair as she, but what of that? Demetrius thinks not so. He will not know what all but he do know. And as he errs, doting on Hermia's eyes, so I, admiring of his qualities, things base and vile, holding no quantity, love can transpose to form and dignity. Love looks not with the eyes, but with the mind, and therefore is winged Cupid painted blind, nor hath love's mind of any judgment taste, wings and no eyes, figure unheedy haste, and therefore is love said to be a child, because in choice he's so oft beguiled, as waggish boys and game themselves forswear, so the boy love is perjured everywhere. For Demetrius looked on Hermia's eyne, he hailed on oath that he was only mine. And when this hail some heat from Hermia felt, so he dissolved, and showers of oaths did melt. I will go tell him a fair Hermia's flight. Then to the wood will he tomorrow night pursue her. And for this intelligence, if I have thanks, it is a dear expense, but herein mean I to enrich my pain, to have a sight thither, and back again.
All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players.
They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages.
At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms.
And then the whining schoolboy, with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school.
And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow.
Then a soldier, full of strange oaths, and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation, even in the cannon's mouth.
And then the justice, and fair round belly, with good cape unlined, with eyes severe, and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws, and modern instances. And so he plays his part.
The 6'8" shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose, well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice, turning again towards childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound.
Last scene of all, that ends the strange, eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion.
Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything.
Didn't it go off all right, old boy? You don't mean to say Gwendolyn refused you. I know it isn't the way she has. She's always refusing people. I think it's most ill-natured of her.
Oh, Gwendolyn is right as a trivet. As far as she is concerned, we are engaged. Her mother is perfectly unbearable. Never met such a gorgon. I'm not really sure what a gorgon is, but I'm quite sure Lady Bracknell is one. In any case, she is a monster without being a myth, which is rather unfair. I beg your pardon, Algie. I suppose I shouldn't talk about your own aunt in that way before you.
My dear boy, I love hearing my relations abused. Relations are simply a tedious pack of people who haven't the remotest knowledge about how to live, nor the smallest instincts about when to die.
Oh, that is nonsense.
It isn't.
I won't argue about the matter. You always want to argue about things.
That's exactly what things are originally made for.
Upon my word, if I thought that, I'd shoot myself. You don't think there's any chance of Gwendolyn becoming like her mother in about 150 years, do you?
All women become like their mothers. That's their tragedy. No man does. That's his.
Is that clever?
It is perfectly phrased and quite as true as any observation in civilized life should be.
I am sick to death of cleverness. Everybody is clever nowadays. You can't go anywhere without meeting clever people. The thing has become an absolute public nuisance. I wish to goodness we had a few fools left.
We have.
I should extremely like to meet them. What do they talk about?
The fools? Oh, about the clever people, of course.
What fools?
By the way, have you told Gwendolyn the truth about your being Earnest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear fellow, the truth isn't quite the sort of thing one tells to a nice, sweet, refined girl. What extraordinary ideas you have about the way to behave to a woman.
The only way to behave to a woman is to make love to her if she is pretty, and to someone else if she is plain.
Oh, that is nonsense.
What about your brother? What about the profligate Earnest?
Oh, before the end of the week, I shall have got rid of him. I'll say he died in Paris of apoplexy. Lots of people die of apoplexy quite suddenly, don't they?
Yes, but it's hereditary, my dear fellow. It's the sort of thing that runs in families. You had much better say a severe chill.
You're quite sure a severe chill isn't hereditary or anything of that sort?
Of course it isn't.
Very well. My poor brother Earnest carried off suddenly in Paris by a severe chill. That gets rid of him.
But I thought you said that Miss Cardew was a little too interested in your brother Earnest. Won't you feel he's lost a great deal?
Oh, that is all right. Cicely is not a silly, romantic girl, I'm glad to say. She has a capital appetite, goes long walks, and pays no attention at all to her lessons.
I'd really like to meet Cecily.
I will take extremely good care you never do. She is excessively pretty and only just 18.
Have you told Gwendolyn yet that you have an excessively pretty ward who is only just 18?
Well, one doesn't just blurt these things out to people. Cecily and Gwendolyn are certain to be extremely great friends. I'll bet you anything you'd like that half an hour after they've met, they'll be calling each other sister.
Women only do that after they've called each other a lot of other things first. Now, my dear boy, if we want to get a good table at Willis's, we really must go and dress. Do you know it is nearly 7?
Oh, it is always nearly 7.
Well, I'm hungry.
I never knew you when you weren't.
What shall we do after dinner? Go to a theater?
Oh, no. I loathe listening.
Well, then let us go to the club.
Oh, no. I hate talking.
Well, we might trot round to the Empire at 10.
Oh, no. I can't bear to look at things. It's so silly.
Well, what shall we do?
Nothing.
It is awful hard work doing nothing. However, I don't mind doing hard work where there's no definite object of any kind.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more. And by a sleep to say, we end the heartache and the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to wish. To die. To sleep. To sleep. Perchance to dream. It is the road. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil? It must give us pause. There's the respect that makes the calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and the scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's constantly, the pangs of the price love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns the patient merit of the unworthy takes when he himself might as quietest make with a bare bodkin. Who would fardels bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns, it puzzles the will, seizes the mind, and it makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others we know not of. Thus, conscience does make cowards of us all. And thus, the native hue of resolution is sicklied o'er with the pale cast of thought. In enterprises of great pith and moment, with this regard their currents turn awry, and lose the name of action. Soft Junel, the fair Ophelia, nymph, and thy orisons be all my sins remembered.
Good, my lord. How goes your lordship for this many a day?
I have to thank you.
I have remembrances of yours, which I have long longed to redeliver. I pray you now, receive them.
No, not I. I never gave you aught.
You know right well you did, and with them words of so sweet a breath composed as to make the things more rich. Take these again, for to the noble mind. Rich gifts wax poor when givers prove unkind. There, my lord.
Are you honest?
My lord?
Are you fair?
What means your lordship?
But if you be honest and fair, your honesty should admit no discourse to your beauty.
Can beauty, my lord, have better discourse than with honesty?
Aye, truly. For the power of beauty will sooner transform honesty from what it is to a bawd, and the force of honesty can translate beauty into his likeness. This was sometime a paradox to me, but now the time gives a proof. I did love you once.
Indeed, my lord. You did make me believe so.
You should not have believed me. For virtue cannot so inoculate our old stock, but we shall relish of it. I loved you not.
I was the more deceived.
Get thee to a nunnery. Why wouldst thou be a breeder of sinners? I am myself indifferent honest. Even I could accuse me of such things that were better my mother had not borne me. I'm proud, I'm revengeful, I have more offenses at my beck than I have thoughts to put them, and imagination to give them shape or time to act them in. What should fellows as I do crawling between earth and heaven? We aren't knaves, all, believe us none. Go thy ways to a nunnery. Where's your father?
At home, my lord.
Good, good. Let the doors be shut upon him, that he may play the fool nowhere in his own house. Farewell.
Oh, sweet heaven. Help him.
And if thou dost marry, I'll give thee this plague for thy dowry. Be thou as chaste as ice, as pure as snow, thou shalt not escape calumny. Go to a nunnery, farewell. And if thou wilt need marry, marry a fool. For wise men know what monsters you make of them. To a nunnery go, and quickly too, farewell.
Heavenly powers, restore him.
I've heard of your paintings well enough. God hath given you one face, and you make yourself another. You jig, and amble, and lisp, and nickname God's creatures, and make your wantonness your ignorance. Go to, I'll no more on it. It has made me mad. I say that we have no more marriages. All those that are married, all but one shall live, the rest shall keep as they are. To a nunnery go, and quickly too.
Oh, what a noble mind is here throned. The courtiers, soldiers, scholars, eye, tongue, sword, the rose and expectancy of the fair state, the glass of fashion and the mold of form, observed of all observers quite down. And I, of ladies most deject and wretched, who sucked the music of his honey vows, now see that noble and most sovereign reason, like sweet bells jangled out of tune and harsh, that unmatched form and feature of blown youth, blasted with ecstasy. Oh, woe is me, to have seen what I have seen, see what I see.
Pray let me introduce myself to you. My name is Cecily Cardew.
Cecily Cardew? What a very sweet name. Something tells me we are going to be great friends. I like you already more than I can say. My first impressions of people are never wrong.
How nice of you to like me so much after we've known each other such a comparatively short time. Pray sit down.
I may call you Cecily, may I not?
With pleasure.
And you will always call me Gwendolyn, won't you?
If you wish.
Then it is all quite settled then, is it not?
I hope so.
Perhaps this might be a favorable opportunity for my mentioning who I am. My father is Lord Bracknell. You have never heard of Papa, I suppose.
I don't think so.
Outside the family circle, Papa, I'm glad to say, is entirely unknown. I think that is quite as it should be. The home seems to me to be the proper sphere for the man, and certainly once a man begins to neglect his domestic duties, he becomes painfully effeminate, does he not? And I don't like that. It makes men so very attractive. Cecily, Mama, whose views on education are remarkably strict, has brought me up to be extremely short-sighted. It is a part of her system, so do you mind my looking at you through my glasses?
Oh, not at all, Gwendolyn. I'm very fond of being looked at.
You are here on a short visit, I suppose?
Oh, no, I live here.
Really? Your mother, no doubt, or some female relative of advanced years resides here also?
Oh, no, I have no mother, nor in fact, any relations.
Indeed?
My dear guardian, with the assistance of Miss Prism, has the arduous task of looking after me.
Your guardian?
Yes, I am Mr. Worthing's ward.
Oh! It is strange he never mentioned to me that he had a ward. How secretive of him. He grows more interesting hourly. I am not sure, however, that the news inspires me with feelings of unmixed delight. I am very fond of you, Cecily. I have liked you ever since I met you, but I am bound to state that now that I know that you are Mr. Worthing's ward, I cannot help expressing a wish that you were, well, just a little older than you seem to be, and not so quite very alluring in appearance. In fact, if I may speak candidly...
Oh, pray do. I think that whenever one has anything unpleasant to say, one should always be quite candid.
Well, to speak with perfect candor, Cecily, I wish that you were fully 42, and more than usually plain for your age. Earnest has a strong, upright nature. He is the very soul of truth and honor. Disloyalty would be as impossible to him as deception. But even men of the noblest possible moral character are extremely susceptible to the physical charms of others. Modern, no less than ancient history, supplies us with many most painful examples of what I refer to. If it were not so, indeed, history would be quite unreadable.
I beg your pardon, Gwendolyn, but did you say Earnest?
Yes?
Oh, but it is not Mr. Earnest Worthing who is my guardian. It is his brother, his elder brother.
Ernest never mentioned to me that he had a brother.
I am sad to say they have not been on good terms for a long time.
Ah, that accounts for it. And now that I think of it, I have never heard any man mention his brother. The subject seems most distasteful to most men. You have lifted a load off my mind, Cecily. I was growing almost anxious. It would have been terrible if any cloud had come across a friendship like ours, would it not? Of course. You are quite sure that it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is your guardian.
Quite sure. In fact, I'm going to be his.
I beg your pardon?
Dearest Gwendolyn, there is no reason I should make a secret of it to you any longer. Our little county newspaper is sure to chronicle the fact next week. Mr. Ernest Worthing and I are engaged to be married.
My darling Cecily, I am afraid of if it is any disappointment to you, but Mr. Ernest Worthing is engaged to me. The announcement will appear in the Morning Post on Saturday at the latest.
I'm afraid you might be under some slight misconception. Ernest proposed to me exactly 10 minutes ago.
It is certainly very curious, for he asked me to be his wife yesterday afternoon at 5:30. If you would care to verify the incident, pray do so. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read on the train. I am so sorry, dear Cecily, if it is of any disappointment to you, but I'm afraid I have a prior claim.
It would distress me more than I can tell you, dear Gwendolyn, if this has caused you any mental or physical anguish. But I feel bound to point out that since Earnest proposed to you, he has clearly changed his mind.
Whatever engagement, if the poor fellow has been entrapped to any engagement, I shall consider it my duty to rescue him at once, and with a firm hand.
Whatever unfortunate entanglement my dear boy may have gotten into, I will never reapproach him with it after we're married.
Do you allude to me, Miss Cardew, as an entanglement? You are presumptuous. On an occasion of this kind, it becomes more than a moral duty to speak one's mind. It becomes a pleasure.
Do you suggest, Miss Fairfax, that I entrapped Earnest into an engagement? How dare you! This is no time for wearing the shallow mask of manners. When I see a spade, I call it a spade.
Ha! I am glad to say that I've never seen a spade. It is obvious our social spheres have been widely different. Are there many interesting walks in the vicinity, Miss Cardew?
Ah, yes, a great many. From the top of one of the hills nearby, one can see 5 counties.
5 counties? I don't think I should like that. I hate crowds.
I suppose that's why you live in town.
Quite a well-kept garden, Miss Cardew.
So glad you like it, Miss Fairfax.
I had no idea there were any flowers in the country.
Oh, flowers, Miss Fairfax, are as common here as people are in London.
Personally, I cannot see how anybody manages to exist in the country. If anybody is, as anybody does, the country always bores me to death.
This is what the newspapers are calling agricultural depression, is it not? I believe the aristocracy are suffering from it very much just at present, or so I have been told. Tea, Miss Fairfax?
Thank you. Detestable girl. But I require tea.
Sugar?
No, thank you. Sugar is not fashionable anymore.
Cake or bread and butter?
Bread and butter, please. Cake is most rarely seen at the best houses nowadays. You have filled my tea with lumps of sugar. And though I asked most distinctly for bread and butter, you have given me cake. I am known for the gentleness of my disposition and the extraordinary sweetness of my soul, but I warn you, Miss Cardew, you may go too far.
To save my poor, innocent, trusting boy from the machinations of any other girl, there are no lengths to which I would not go.
From the moment I saw you, I distrusted you. I felt that you were false and deceitful. I am never deceived in such matters. My first impressions of people are invariably right.
It seems to me, Miss Fairfax, that I am trespassing on your valuable time. No doubt you have many other calls of a similar character to make in the neighborhood.
Oh.
Why should you think that I should ruin scorn? Scorn and derision never come in tears. Look, when I vow, I weep. And vows so born in their nativity, all truth appears. How can these things in me seem scorn to you? Bearing the badge of faith to prove them true.
Do advance your cunning more and more when truth kills truth, O devilish holy fray. These vows are Hermia's. Will you give her o'er? Weigh oath with oath, and you will nothing weigh. Your vows to her and me put in 2 scales will even weigh, and both as light as tails.
I had no judgment when to her I swore.
Nor none in my mind, now you give her o'er.
Demetrius loves her, and he loves not you.
Oh, Helena, goddess, nymph, perfect, divine, to what, my love, shall I compare thine eyne? Crystals muddy, oh, how ripe and show thy lips, those kissing cherries, tempting grow. That pure congealed white, high Taurus snow, fanned by the eastern wind, turns to a crow when thou holdst up thy hand. Oh, let me kiss this princess of pure white, this seal of bliss.
Oh, spite! Oh, hell! I see you all are bent to sit against me for your merriment. If you were civil and knew courtesy, you would not do me thus much injury. Can you not hate me? As I know you do. But you must join in souls to mock me too? If you were men, as men you are in show, you would not use a gentle lady so, to vow and swear and super praise my parts, when I am sure you hate me with your hearts. You both are rivals and love Hermia, and now both rivals to mock Helena? A trim exploit, a manly enterprise to conjure tears up in a poor maid's eyes with your derision. None of noble sort would so offend a virgin, or extort a poor soul's patience, all to make you sport.
You are unkind, Demetrius. Be not so. For you love Hermia, this you know I know. And here, with all goodwill, with all my heart, in Hermia's love I yield you up my part. And yours of Helena, to me bequeath, whom I do love, and will do till my death.
Never did mockers waste more idle breath.
Lysander, hate thy Hermia, I will none. If e'er I love her, all that love is gone.
My heart to her but as guest I sojourn, and now to Helen, this home returned there to remain. Helen, it is not so. Disparage the faith thou dost not know, lest to thy peril thou buy it dear. Look, where thy love comes, yonder is thy dear.
Dark night, that from the eye its function takes, the ear more quick of apprehension makes. Wherein it doth impair the same sense, it pays the hearing double recompense. You are not by mine eye, Lysander, found. Mine ear, I thank it, brought me to thy sound. But why unkindly dost thou leave me so?
Why should he stay? In love doth press to go.
What love could press Lysander from my side?
Lysander's love, it would not let him bide. Fair Helena, who more engilds the night than all you fiery O's and eyes of light. Why seekest thou me? Could not this make thee know? The hate I bear thee made me leave thee so.
You speak not as you think. It cannot be.
Whoa. She is one of this confederacy. Now I perceive they have conjoined all three to fashion this false sport, in spite of me. Injurious Hermia, most ungrateful maid, have you conspired? Have you with these contrived to bait me with this foul derision? Is all the counsel we have spared? The sisters' vows, the hours we have spent when we have chid the hasty-footed time for parting us. Oh, is it all forgot? And will you rent our ancient love asunder to join with men in scorning your poor friend? 'Tis not friendly, 'tis not maidenly. Our sex as well as I shall chide you for it, though I alone do feel the injury.
I am amazed at your passionate words. I scorn you not. It seems that you scorn me.
Have you not set Lysander, as in scorn, to follow me and praise my eyes and face? And made your other love, Demetrius, who even but now did spurn me with his foot to call me divine and rare, precious, celestial, goddess, nymph, wherefore speaks he this to thou he hates? And wherefore doth Lysander deny your love, but by your setting on, by your consent? What thought I be not so embraces you, so hung upon with love, so fortunate, but miserable most, to love unloved? This you should pity rather than despise.
I understand not what you mean by this.
I do. Her sever, counterfeit sad lips, make mouths upon me when I turn my back, wink each at other, hold the sweet jest up. This sport, well carried, shall be chronicled. Feels any pity graced her manners, you would not make me such an argument. But fare ye well, 'tis partly my own fault, which death or absence soon shall remedy.
Stay, gentle Helena. Hear my excuse, my love, my life, my soul, fair Helena.
Oh, excellent.
Sweet, do not scorn her so.
If she cannot entreat, I can compel. Thou canst compel no more than she entreat. Thy threats have no more strength than her weak prayers. Helen, I love thee, by my life I do. I swear by that which I will lose for thee, to prove him false that says I love thee not. I say I love thee more than he can do. If thou say so, withdraw and prove it too. Quick, come.
Lysander, where to tends all this?
Away, you.
No, don't seem to break loose. Take on as you would fall, but still come not. You are tame, man, go!
Hang off, thou cat, thou burr. Vile thing, let loose, or I will shake thee from me like a serpent.
Why are you grown so rude? What changes this sweet love?
Thy love! Out, tawny tartar, out. Out, loathed medicine, hated potion, hence!
Do you not jest?
Yes, sooth, and so do you.
Demetrius, I will keep my word with thee.
I would I had your bond, for I see a weak bond holds you. I'll trust not your word.
What? Should I hurt her? Strike her? Kill her dead? Although I hate her, I'll not harm her so.
What? Can you do me greater harm than hate me? Hate me. For oh, what news, my love? Am I not Hermia? Are you not Lysander? I am as fair as I was erewhile. Since night you loved me, yet since night you left me. Why then you left me? Oh, the gods forbid, in earnest shall I say.
Aye, by my life, and never did desire to see thee more. Therefore be out of hope, of question, of doubt. Be certain, nothing truer. 'Tis no jest that I do hate thee, and love Helena.
Oh, me. You, juggler! You canker blossom! You thief of love! What, have you come by night and stolen my love's heart from him?
Sign of faith. Have you no modesty? No maiden shame, no touch of bashfulness? What? Will you tear impatient answers from my gentle tongue? Fie, fie, you counterfeit, you puppet, you.
Puppet? Why so? Hey, there goes the game. Now I see that she hath made a compare between our heights. She hath urged her personage, her tall personage, and with her height, forsooth, she hath prevailed with him. Are you grown so high in his esteem, because I am so low and dwarfish? How low am I, thou painted maypole? How low am I? Speak! I am not yet so low, but that my nails can reach unto thine eye.
I pray you. Oh, you mock me, gentlemen. Let her not hurt me. I was never cursed. I have no gift in all insuredness. I'm a right man for my cowardice. Let her not strike me. You perhaps may think that because she is something lower than myself that I can match her.
Lower! Hark, again!
Good Hermia, do not be so bitter with me. I ere more did love you, Hermia. Did ever keep your counsels, never wronged you. Save that, and love unto Demetrius, I told him of your stealth into this wood. He followed you. For love I followed him, but he hath chid me hence, and threatened me to strike me, spurn me, nay, to kill me too. And now, so you will let me quiet go, to Athens will I bear my folly back, and follow you no further. Let me go. You see how simple and how fond I am.
Why, get you gone. Who is that hinders you?
A foolish heart, that I leave here behind.
What, with Lysander?
With Demetrius.
Be not afraid. She shall not harm thee, Helena.
No, sir, she shall not, though you take her part.
Oh, when she is angry, she is keen and shrewd. She was a vixen when she was in school, and though she be but little, she's fierce.
Little, again! Nothing but low and little. Why will you suffer her to flout me thus? Let me come to her.
Get you gone, you dwarf! You minimus! Of hindering not grass made. You bead, you acorn!
You are too officious in her behalf. That scorns your services, let her be. Speak not of Helena, for if thou dost intend never so little show of love to her, thou shalt buy it.
Now she holds me not. Now follow, if thou darest, to try who's right. Of thine or mine is most in Helena.
Follow, nay, I'll go with thee, cheek by jowl.
You, mistress, all this coil is long of you. Nay, go not back.
I will not trust you, nor longer stay in your cursed presence. Your hands and mine are quicker for a fray. My legs are longer, though, to run away.
I'm amazed, and know not what to say.
I'm Patrick Russell, and this is my scene based on the novel Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. In this scene, it explores the darker side of the character of Heathcliff and shows his thought process as he reflects on his life and the consequences of his actions. Before we begin, I'd like to thank a few people. First off, Miss Gumnick for being so patient with me this fall as I've struggled to balance 2 activities, and also for giving us as students the opportunity to write a scene that will be performed, which is so amazing. Secondly, the actors who will be bringing the scene to life, Jack and Abigail. I could not think of any 2 better friends and actors who could bring the scene to life. And thirdly, Cara Ann, thank you so much for allowing me to do the scene, seeing as you had already decided to do a scene based on Wuthering Heights. You've been so gracious, and I'm very grateful for that. So, without any further delay, here's my scene.
Oh, Mr. Heathcliff, why do you brood so? It isn't healthy to be so somber on such a fair day like this.
There is nothing to speak of that concerns you, Nellie. Besides, I'm unable to allow myself such a pleasure as the enjoyment of a pleasant day. I feel sickened at the very thought of it.
What matters be so serious that a man may torment himself in such a manner as you do?
I have already informed you that there is nothing to speak of that concerns you. What drives you to interrogate me? Let me be, I tell you.
I apologize, Mr. Heathcliff, I speak out of turn. I will no longer trouble you with my meddlesome queries.
Nellie, if you must know, dissatisfaction has captured my thoughts. I reflect on my life and should feel triumph at the vengeance I have brought upon those who caused me pain. But instead, I feel no more satisfaction from the pain I have caused than I do from taking in breath. The perpetrators of the evil done to me are dead and gone, but yet I continue my wrath upon their progeny. I've even acquired both of the houses in which the wrongdoers inhabited. My thirst has now been quenched, and I feel an emptiness like none other. I feel I should stop this vengeance, but I fear if I do, she will no longer haunt me, and leave me forever.
Who is this woman you speak of? Who haunts you, Mr. Heathcliff?
Who else but Catherine Earnshaw? She has tormented me since she died, but yet I long for her to stay.
Surely Catherine does not haunt you. Nay, what you speak of is unnatural.
And yet, she haunts me still. I long to touch her, but she withdraws before my hand reaches her. She has haunted me these 18 years since she died, but I get a peculiar pleasure from her company. I yearn to be with her, but yet am ever apart from her. My desire for her is driving me to do terrible things. Only yesterday I persuaded the sexton to open Catherine's grave.
Mr. Heathcliff! You wicked man!
Her face was still as beautiful as ever. I reached for it, but the sexton stirred me, saying her face would be damaged, and so I replaced the lid. I asked the sexton to bury me with her when I die. For if we were not meant to be together in life, we shall at least be so in death.
You should be ashamed for disturbing the dead.
She was not disturbed. On the contrary, it is she who disturbs me. At the very least, I gave some ease to myself. My dreams are filled with the hope of lying next to her in death, my cheek against hers.
But surely, Mr. Heathcliff, you do not wish to die?
No, Nellie. I have no hope of death, and yet no fear of it. Why should I fear it? With my hard constitution, temperate mode of living, and unperilous occupations, I probably shall remain above ground till there is scarcely a black hair on my head. But yet, I cannot continue in conditions such as these. My one wish is to be with her. And to fulfill my yearnings, I must be buried in the ground with her.
But Mr. Heathcliff, what of Edgar Linton? You must remember he and Catherine were married before they died. 'Tis not right of you to separate those joined in marriage.
Curse Edgar Linton! He did not deserve Catherine's love, nor did he earn it. Catherine loved me and not him. It is only right that we be laid to rest beside one another.
Oh, Mr. Heathcliff, I fear you have mistaken love with passion. Had you truly loved Catherine, you would have kept in mind her health when you chose to quarrel with Edgar. You and I both know her death was brought about because of your fighting. She loved both of you dearly, and would have never decided between the two of you. She may have loved you, but you certainly never loved her. Yours is a selfish love made for none but yourself. To tell the truth, you are simply a selfish man whose actions are born out of spite. Consider the two you have inflicted such pain upon, Hareton and young Cathy. They are two who are becoming enamored with each other, but you are attempting to quell their desire for one another with your tyranny. Have you no regret for such pain you have consigned to them? Their only crime against you they have ever been guilty of are the crimes of their forefathers.
Why should they have pleasures when I have none? No, they are innocent. But as I said before, I fear my dear Catherine will cease to torment me should I make peace with her offspring. I know not how these otherworldly matters work, and choose to err on the side of caution. If I were a selfless man, I would cease my torment of them, as I have lost the faculty of enjoying their destruction, but yet I continue in my ways. Perhaps it is time I end this. They have already been robbed of their birthrights. What more can they give to me? As odd as it may seem, I feel a slight sense of envy at the love blossoming before my eyes. I longed for love, and never truly discovered the meaning of it. The union between my wife and I bore little resemblance to love, at least on my part, for my demeanor was much too cold for her liking. Catherine and I, while I am eternally infatuated with the mere idea of her, were never given a true opportunity to experience love in this life. Therefore, my thoughts are filled with the hope of being with her in death, to be eternally joined.
Find your passion for Catherine, not to be born out of pure, unadulterated love, but out of perverse desire. I fear God may find your soul too impure for the confines of heaven, and cast you into fires of hell. You and Catherine will make a fine pair, burning for—
I could face any of the tortures Satan himself could devise. If only my dear Catherine were beside me.
Then continue as you do, unafraid of your consequences, heavenly or worldly. I pray your soul does find rest, as I pity you and your troubles.
Your speech towards me brings back childhood memories of Joseph the manservant, who ensured Catherine and I learned the scriptures until we could recite entire chapters verbatim. As righteous as he may have desired to appear, his fruits were not of holy roots. Never had such a Pharisee ransacked a Bible, keeping the blessings and flinging the curses on his neighbors. A hypocrite, if I ever saw one.
Oh yes, Joseph may have been full of hypocrisy, but you feel the need to employ his misdeeds to divert our dialogue from your own.
My confessions to you have not relieved me of any troubles, but they may account for some otherwise unaccounted phases of humor which I show. I wish this life were not so troublesome.
Well, I have other matter to attend to, so I will leave you to your disturbed contemplations.
Hi, my name is Kara Ann, and I am the playwright and director of the scene you're about to see. This scene is part of a larger play I've been writing entitled Wuthering Heights, an adaptation for the stage. This play is based on the 1848 novel by Emily Bronte, Wuthering Heights. I read this book over the summer for my AP Lit class and quickly fell in love with the characters and storyline. A few quick thank yous to Miss Gumnick for her kindness in letting me experiment with this, to my family for their continued support, to my amazing actors, May and Adelle, who have put up with my amateur directing skills and done amazing things to bring my ideas to life. And finally, to my Baylor English teachers, who have inspired me and grown my love for literature these past few years. Thank you so much for watching, and please enjoy.
Are you alone, Nellie?
Yes, miss.
Where's Heathcliff?
About his work in the stable. What can I do for you?
Oh dear, I'm very unhappy.
Pity. You're so hard to please. So many friends and so few cares, and can't make yourself content.
Nellie, will you keep a secret from me?
Is it worth keeping?
Yes, and it's important to me, and I must let it out. I need to know what I should do. Today, Edgar Linton has asked me to marry him. I've given him an answer. Now, before I tell you whether it's consent or denial, you tell me which it ought to have been.
Really, Miss Catherine? How should I know? You're 22 and ought to be of a better mind to decide for yourself. To be sure, considering your exhibition earlier today, I might say it would be wise to refuse him, considering that he asked you afterwards. You must either be hopelessly stupid or a venturesome fool.
If you speak so, I won't tell you anymore. I accepted him. Be quick and say whether I was wrong.
You accepted him? And what purpose is there discussing the matter? You have pledged your word. You cannot retract.
But say whether I should have done so. Do.
There are many factors to be considered before that question can be answered properly. First and foremost, do you love Mr. Edgar?
Who can help it? Of course I do.
And why?
I do, and that's sufficient.
By no means. You must say why.
Well, because he is handsome and pleasant to be with.
Bad.
And because he is young and cheerful.
Bad still.
And because he loves me.
Indifferent coming there.
And because he is rich, and I shall like to be the greatest woman of the neighborhood. And I should be proud of having such a husband.
Worst of all. Now tell me how you love him.
As everybody loves. You're silly, Nellie.
Not at all. Answer.
I love the ground beneath his feet, and the air above his head, and every word he says and everything he touches. I love all of his actions and all his looks, and him entirely and altogether. There now.
And why?
Nay, you are making a jest of it. It is exceedingly ill-natured. It is no jest to me.
I am very far from jesting, Miss Catherine. You love Mr. Edgar because he is young and handsome and cheerful and rich, and loves you. The last one, however, goes for nothing. You would love him without that, probably, and with it you wouldn't, unless he possessed the 4 former attractions.
No, to be sure not. She'll only pity him. Hate him, perhaps, if he were ugly and a clown.
But there are several other handsomer, richer men in the world. What should stop you from loving them?
If there be any, they are out of my way. I've seen none like Edgar.
You may see some, and he will not always be so handsome and young, and may not always be rich.
But he is now, and I have only to do with the present. I wish you would speak rationally.
Well, that settles it. If you have only to do with the present, marry Mr. Linton.
I don't need your permission for that. I shall marry him. You have not told me whether I was right.
Perfectly right, if people be right to marry only for the present. But now, tell me what you are unhappy about. Your brother will be pleased, and the old lady and gentleman will not object, I think. And you will move from a disorderly, comfortless home to a wealthy, respectable one. All seems smooth and easy. Where's the obstacle?
Here, and here, in whichever place the soul lives. In my soul and in my heart, I'm convinced I'm wrong.
That's very strange. I cannot make it out.
It's my secret. But if you will not mock at me, I'll tell you. Do you never dream queer dreams, Nellie?
Yes, now and then.
And so do I. I've dreamt dreams in my life that have stayed with me ever after and changed my ideas. They've gone through and through me like wine through water and altered the color of my mind. And this one, I'll tell it, but take care not to smile at any part of it.
Oh, don't, Miss Catherine. We're dismal enough as it is, without you conjuring ghosts and visions to perplex us. Come, come. Be merry and like yourself.
If I were in heaven, Nellie, I should be extremely miserable.
Because you're not fit to go there. All sinners would be miserable in heaven.
But it is not for that. I dreamt once I was there.
I tell you, Miss Catherine, I won't hearken to your dreams. I'll go to bed.
This is nothing. I was only going to say that heaven did not seem to be my home, and I broke my heart with weeping to come back to earth, and the angels were so angry that they flung me down into the middle of the heath on top of Wuthering Heights, where I woke sobbing for joy. I have no more business to marry Edgar Linton than I have to be in heaven. And if the wicked man in there had not brought Heathcliff so low, I shouldn't have thought of it. It would degrade me to marry Heathcliff now, so he shall never know how I feel. He is more myself than I. Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same. And Edgar's is as different as moonbeam from lightning.
Hush, child.
Why?
Another servant is coming, and Heathcliff will come in with him. Could not be sure whether or not they were at the door at this very moment.
Oh, he couldn't overhear me at the door. Come, get the supper, and when it is ready, ask me to sup with you. I want to cheat my uncomfortable conscience to be convinced that Heathcliff has no notion of these things. He is not, has he? He does not know what being in love is.
I see no reason he should not know, as well as you do. And if you are his choice, then he'll be the most unfortunate creature that was ever born. If you marry Edgar Linton, he loses friend, and love, and all. Have you considered how you'll bear the separation? And how he'll bear to be quite deserted in the world? Because Miss Catherine...
He quite deserted. We separated. Who is to separate us, pray? They shall meet the fate of Milo. Not as long as I live, for no mortal creature. That is not what I intend. That's not what I mean. I shouldn't be Miss Linton were such a price demanded. He shall mean as much to me as he is all his lifetime. I see now you think me a selfish wretch. But did it never strike you that if Heathcliff and I married, we should be beggars? Whereas, if I marry Linton, I can aid Heathcliff to rise, place him out of my brother's power.
With your husband's money, Miss Catherine. You'll find him not so pliable as you calculate upon. And though I'm hardly a judge, I think that's the worst reason you've given yet for being the wife of young Linton.
It is not. It is the best. My great miseries in this life would be Heathcliff's miseries, and I've watched and felt each from the beginning. My great thought in living is himself. If all else perished and he remained, I should still continue to be. And if all else remained and he were annihilated, the world would turn to a mighty stranger. I should not seem a part of it. My love for Linton is like foliage in the woods. Time will change it, I'm well aware, as the winter changes the trees. My love for Heathcliff is like the eternal rocks beneath, a source of little visible delight, but necessary. Nellie, I am Heathcliff. He is always, always on my mind, not as a pleasure, any more than I am always a pleasure to myself, but as my own being. So don't talk of our separation again. It is impracticable. And
If I can make any sense of your nonsense, miss, it only goes to convince me that you are ignorant of the duties you undertake in marrying, or else that you are a wicked, unprincipled girl. But trouble me no more with secrets. I'll not promise to keep them.
You'll keep that?
No, I'll not promise. And miss, I must make you aware that Heathcliff certainly did hear a good sentiment of your speech. I just saw him leaving out of my periphery.
Oh, no, Nellie, no, no, no. You must jest. I want to speak to him, and I must, before I go upstairs. What have I said? Forgotten. Was he vexed at my bad humor this afternoon? Oh, Lord, tell me what I've said to grieve him. Oh, I wish he'd come. I do wish he would.
Hi, I'm Jack Smith. I'm a junior with the Baylor Theater Company, and I am the writer and the director of the film you are about to see, The Things We Leave Behind. The current version of the film is a preview of a version I hope to have later in the year, but due to the world right now being crazy with COVID, I cannot promise anything because you never know when we just won't be able to come back to school. But due to it being a preview version, the version you are about to see is not very clear about who everyone is or what the plot is. So just a few things a synopsis, I suppose, that I'm going to inform you of, is a man has died, and he is there as a spirit of sorts at his own graveside memorial, where his father, his best friend, and his girlfriend, soon would have been fiancé, are mourning his death. So, with that in mind, I hope you enjoy the film The Things We Leave Behind.